they use to come into markets around the world. Everybody knows that China, the CDC of China is a big investor in our government bonds, for example. They finance our debt, and a lot of people feel that they have an unfair advantage over our political leaders here in this country because of the power of their capital that they wage. So speaking to this very point, go to the Peterson Institute website, go to the Brookings Institute. There's tons of stuff on a lot of the thinking that goes on, and how do you restrict the political power of these foreign corporate institutions coming in and dictating American policy, which again it's very ironic that prior to the crash, you know, that kind of thinking was prevalent, but now post crash you have Pandit, the head of Citibank, going to the Kuwait Sovereign Wealth Fund, invest in our banks. We need capital. We're insolvent. So you know, it's a very interesting thing. But there is a lot of thinking about that. And if you're going to attack this thing, that's one way to do it. The other thing, just a comment about your presentation, and it's absolutely fantastic. But it's kind of like the healthcare debate. That if you get up there and you're starting to speak legalese, you're gonna lose the masses. You know, it's not like you know, we're gonna get up there and make a speech about, well, gee, you know, all this, the corporate power and all this other thing, but the counter argument is that, well, what, you're against freedom of speech? Where people can understand that and grasp that easy idea that's boiled down, and that's why the conservatives have been so successful, because they were able to frame the argument. We have to frame this argument in a way that we can't get into the cases about you know, all of these things, because it's gonna go right over people's heads. So, but it's a fantastic presentation. Thank you very much.
I think there's one thing that has not been brought up, and it's been going on and on and on. There must be a union of the left. There is no left force in this country. There is no such thing. Tea parties can come overnight. The left has yet to unify, to get together and present a common front. And I think until we do that, we will sit here and talk to each other, and we'll have a wonderful discussion, and you were certainly great, but we will get nowhere. There must be a union of the left, and it can be started.
Well, you're right, and in a sense, this is what the right wing did 30 years ago.
Exactly.
All these right-wing foundations got together to try to change American ideology. They created places like the Federalist Society to change the law in this country, to move it to the right. They created the Heritage Foundation, and all these right-wing foundations, which had a common theme to move public policy to the right in this country. And you're right, the left does not have the same thing. I know the George Soroses talk about that, and they do try, they're aware of the problem. And I know there are groups that are trying to pull together sort of the left liberal, you know, financial gurus to see if that's not possible. Now, I don't know how far they'll get, but I know it's on somebody's agenda, and I hope maybe they make some progress. But, you know, the right wing has a 30-year head start on it.
But if we don't start, we'll never do it.
Frank, is there any opportunities with that Santa Clara case versus Southern Pacific Railway? Can that decision somehow be resurrected, or can motions be brought forward there?
It's sort of water over the bridge, over the dam. You know.
Decisions get overturned, or
No, but now, you know, Citizens United, the law of the land, they now controls everything, and
But I'm
it seems to
thinking-
say corporations have free speech.
but in terms of corporations not being people, and it emanated from that decision, that aspect
Yeah,
of
but
it.
it's sort of been, you know, taken over. You know, it's been so, it's buried under a, you know, a lot of history now, and you can't undo those last 130 years now. It's very difficult.
As Bob Dole said, where's the outrage? did stop the Vietnam War. We can't stop these two. It's not here. It's simply not here. Who's in this room? We're a bunch of old farts, for the large part.
Speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself.
Right.
Excuse me, I wanted to ask you, do you personally think that there's anybody in, well, very few people in Congress who try to pass some legislation to put a hold on this, because they all take corporate donations? That's what, and that's one of the reasons the third parties don't stand a chance, because we can't get corporations to give us money, because first of all, we don't want their money, but secondly, we couldn't.
But don't worry, there are a lot of good people in Congress, you know, they're not all terrible. I mean, I love
I
Sherrod
agree.
Brown. I think Senator Sherrod Brown from Ohio is marvelous.
Okay, there
Dennis
are a
Kucinich.
few
Dennis,
that
our
really, and
Dennis.
Dennis Kucinich.
I
Our
think
beloved Dennis.
he may be like any other politician, but the corporations don't offer him any money. So we got Kucinich.
Well, he gets money from the Democratic Party though, and corporations fund them.
Some corporations get
Party.
to both sides.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they do, we know that. But do you think that there's any chance that legislators will really put an effort in?
It's hard for me. I mean, we did get McCain-Feingold passed. It was an important reform. Of course, the Supreme Court has knocked most of it out.
Right.
That's the problem. So that's why I say it's a long road. You not only get it past the House and the Senate, then you got to get it past the Supreme
Yes,
Court.
yes.
There's no easy answers here. So I don't know. I keep advocating.
Yes,
I do the best I can.
well, as this young man said here, I wish you could be speaking to stadiums filled with ordinary people, but how do you get ordinary people to stop their distractions from the Olympics and baseball and all of the other things that are made so important in our media?
You're Tiger Woods.
Tiger
I
Woods.
keep hoping that Barack Obama can inspire some people. I mean, he can be marvelous at times, and other
He's a
times
marvelous
he's very
Isn't it all
disappointing.
just talk?
Sometimes he's disappointing.
Isn't it all just
Doesn't
talk
walk
with
the walk.
Obama? It seems to me every time he says something, it's great. But then he has Rahm Emanuel that he listens to, and so on. I think it's not it's not wisdom to say,
I hope we can push a health care bill through. As bad as it is,
Yeah.
it'll be a beginning. It would be a beginning, and it can improve it from there. But can he get it through? I don't know. He's not Superman. He's still got to face a lot of dissident Democrats. Forget about the Republicans.
And meanwhile, the numbers of jobless keep increasing.
All true.
Well, Frank, how do you address, getting back to the other issue, how do you address the question that the media, the newspapers, the television, corporations, our corporations, and how do you address that with giving freedom of the press and the fact that they're corporations?
Well, they have the right under the First Amendment. They're protected by the First Amendment. They have a specific protection. No, you cannot abridge the freedom of the press.
So the
So the
press
fact they
is-
take the corporate form is irrelevant. They are the press. Now, it's sometimes not easy to draw the line. Where does the press, how far does the press go? But, those are, so there's some shady areas. But we do know that newspapers and radio stations are part of the media. They have First Amendment protection. And maybe the internet does for communication. But that doesn't mean that ExxonMobil has to climb on their back and say, we have it too. They're different. There's nothing in the Constitution that says corporations have freedom of speech. That you can't abridge the freedom of speech of corporations. It's just the first, you can't abridge the press.